Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, how are you?
I remember when I signed for City at the stadium. Outside, when I go to my car, it was a big support of Manchester City. And he said to me, just do two things, beat United twice. And we did it.
Manchester City win at Old Trafford.
This is a manager that's going to take us everywhere. We're fantastic.
That will preserve the perfect start.
I just loved him. I loved him from the off.
Nedum Onuoha, and City have turned it around.
There was a feel-good factor there, and I think that was because of just him, his personality and his style.
Oh, yes!
Such a special goal.
By Michael Johnson.
Oh, that's electrifying from Elano.
Eu vi uma paixão do clube sedento de coisas maiores.
It's 8 for Middlesbrough.
Because of the personality Sven was, everybody wanted him to succeed.
That was a long time ago.
It was really late in the summer when Sven joined City. It had been a really uncertain summer because there'd been the takeover really late in the summer.
Take us to the Champions League and win us it! Thank you! Thank you, that's it!
The season had only been a matter of like 3-4 weeks away when they announced that Sven was going to be the manager.
It'd come off the back of quite a tough season. We hadn't scored many goals under the previous manager.
Well, City fans have had enough. They're on their way. Another dismal home display.
Obviously, we all knew that Stuart Pearce had gone, and it was a shock when you think of Sven's record. He was a very famous manager. I think there was word that he could have had a choice of European clubs. So it was a massive surprise at the time.
This was the England manager who was in charge of, you know, David Beckham's, Frank Lampard's, people like that. So when he came to City, it felt surreal because the club hadn't really had that sort of feel about it. The way that the last tenure finished, you didn't really have too many reasons to feel hopeful. But now all of a sudden there was a different feel about the club. When he came in, it was certainly an exciting place to be.
It was like a whirlwind. It just happened in a matter of days. They signed Sven, and then suddenly there were 10, 12 new players arriving, and it was all just really fun.
We were very lucky to find those kind of players, and even more lucky that they fitted in to the team, and very quickly we made a team of it, and they were great, the players who came in.
Eu estava na Ucrânia, né? E apareceu a oportunidade do City, né? Eu vi o City numa reconstrução muito desafiadora, mas eu vi um amor assim, torcedor. Eu vi uma paixão do clube sedento de coisas maiores. E a minha chegada na Inglaterra, eu cheguei com mais 6 ou 7 jogadores.
I remember that famous press conference where they were all lined up. I thought, well, I don't know you, never heard of you, never seen you before. I think I've heard of you.
You know, the story was that Sven had watched a DVD of them and signed them off the back of that. And I'm sure that isn't true, but it just kind of builds into the narrative of we don't really know what we're going to get this season.
Opening day of the season, it was absolutely scorching. The biggest thing I remember is the kit, the white kit with the blue section on it was absolutely stunning.
There was more expectation put on us now because we'd been taken over. There was more expectation on us because Sven was the manager. You know, Sven was the England manager, so you'd have more eyes on you anyway. And it was the first proper time where I felt like, you know, we should be winning this with the talent that we have.
I remember it because I wasn't there and I couldn't watch it. I was on holiday in Spain. So all we got was sitting watching Sky Sports News, flick between all these games and not knowing what was going on at Upton Park.
Here's Elano, 2 up ahead of him. Bianchi and Petrov over to his left. He's looked to go all the way round himself. And it's in for Bianchi. A debut goal for the Manchester City man. And Sven-Goran Eriksson's era in charge at City is off to a flyer.
I was surprised how quickly they got into it, the players we bought. And it's not easy to come to Premier League if you come from whatever country you're coming from, because it's different and it's tougher in England, it's quicker, everything.
Do jogar, do treinador, foi cara que me colocou assim numa formação de liberdade dentro do campo. E para mim a adaptação na Inglaterra foi muito importante. Então assim, foi grande exemplo para mim, tanto como treinador e como pessoa, assim, acho que é.
Elano, who had a big part to play in the goal, the man coming off. And Giovanni comes on to take his place for the last 10 minutes.
It was Chris Kamara at Upton Park. It never seemed to go back to him until the Giovanni goal right at the end, where he's just waxing lyrical about the run by Nedum Onuoha down the right flank.
So I think I beat probably 3 players. Did a Cruyff turn right on the byline, which sent somebody off the field. But then the next touch was like 60-40 my favour with someone.
I'll never forget it. He described the poke back that Onuoha did for Giovanni to control and shoot and score. He described it as his telescopic leg.
So I just want to stick out the little telescopic leg, drop to Giovanni.
Giovanni, can Manchester City settle it? They do!
You know, for as good as that moment was, I remember thinking afterwards, I'm absolutely shattered here. And I was going back to right back and I was playing against Craig Bellamy. And he said to me, right, if you don't try and run past me, I won't try and run past you for the rest of this game. And bear in mind, I couldn't breathe at the time, nor did I know him. I thought he must be lying, but he's a man of his word. So for 5 minutes, he was very calm.
We absolutely hammered West Ham, and West Ham had quite a good side at the time. And although it was only 2-0, it should have been much, much more. It was an incredible performance. I remember it like it was yesterday.
How are you, Sven? Very well, and you? Thank you. Good to see you again.
Sven, how delighted are you?
Very delighted, of course. First match in Premier League. 3 points away. It's very good. A lot of new players in and a lot of own players as well. I think at a certain point we had 5 up to 6 academy players coming from their own club. So it's very, very good.
Johnson does have quick feet. Squeezes it through to Elano. Johnson continues the run.
Michael Johnson against Derby.
I mean, the technique was incredible because he didn't just softly hit it. He smashed it with the outside of his boot.
Oh, yes! Created and finished by Michael Johnson.
It was such a beautiful finish. I remember being right behind it. My seat was in the north stand at the time and I was right behind it watching it curl in, and I knew it was in before it hit the net.
And what a way for the teenager to score his first goal in the Premier League.
It was the first goal I'd seen at home since New Year's Day.
That was our first home win that year since New Year's Day. It was now August. And so it was time for celebrations.
It was such an ecstatic feeling to have broken that hoodoo of not having scored at home, and to have done it in such a way that it was such a special goal. And with a homegrown young player as well, it's just the icing on the cake.
As they go into the derby this weekend against Manchester United, for once they'll be looking down on them in the Premier League table. 2 games gone, 2 successes. It's Sven Wonderland.
We were positive. You know, there was no fear about it. We didn't fear Man United. They might have had the history, but it felt like we were heading in the right direction. United was still United at that point. You know, they're the dominant force. But it felt like, for the first time in a long time, we closed the gap.
Well, how much have you been waiting for this game? It's the 148th competitive Manchester derby, and surely not for many, many years has the blue half of Manchester wanted and relished this day so much.
We'd gone into it thinking, well, it's all right beating West Ham and a half-decent derby side by narrow margins, but when you're playing the league champions, it's a completely different ball game altogether. So remember, there was again a lot of nerves, but the atmosphere was so loud.
Eu que joguei tantos clássicos da minha vida, e eu sei o tanto que é valorizado para o torcedor essa conquista. E quando nós começamos o jogo, principalmente eu e o Giovanni, e eu falei, Gil, vamos ganhar esse jogo aí, cara. Ele falou, não, vamos ganhar, cara. Eu falei, não sei como, mas vamos ganhar.
There were so many derbies in the past where you think, OK, City might give a good account of themselves, but ultimately they'll get beat because United are a much better team. This one, there was a bit of steel and a bit of grit and determination in there, and they dug in, and I think that's what Sven was giving them in those first few weeks.
Manchester United are asking the questions at the moment. Through the middle again, Tevez. Can Richards stop him again? Tevez has done him this time to the right. Richards recovers again brilliantly.
Mika, Richard e o Doni fez uma partida absurda. Eu me lembro até hoje de um carrinho que o Mika Richard dá para fazer uma cobertura no Tevez, que é uma imagem maravilhosa que a gente tem bem fresco na cabeça hoje.
Richard Dunn and Micah Richards in particular were phenomenal.
Micah and Donny playing centre-back, that first 3-4 months, they were as good as anybody in the league. Donny has played in so many derbies, and Micah was so young, so motivated, like desperate to beat Man United. So when you have those sorts of characters within that position, it's like thou shalt not pass by any means.
Funnily enough, that derby was probably, for me, Micah Richards' best ever performance for us.
Richards again beats Tevez. Nice layoff as well from Popper. Johnson. City expectations growing here. Giovanni has given City an amazing lead.
The Giovanni goal, like we're winning against Man United, and again it's one of our new players who's on a roll, he's looking good. We've got a lead, we've got something to hold on to against United. Like I can't think of many times before that when we had that, because we tend to go behind and the game would be done.
Quando a gente faz o gol assim, aquela imagem de gente correndo para a torcida, a gente vê toda aquela euforia. E a gente vê a torcida mais ou menos assim no olho do torcedor. É possível.
It was an exciting time. I think what Sven had done is come in and give the team confidence.
For me personally, being a City fan, having years of seeing City lose, you're expecting the worst. So when the ball's dropping to Tevez, you're expecting the worst.
90 minutes are up now. It's through everyone and missed.
You can't guarantee just win games and control games. You need a bit of luck, and that Tevez moment was definitely that.
Goodness me, Carlos Tevez seemingly had the goal at his mercy, and once again he's put it wide.
That was the point at which I thought, yeah, they're going to win this, because if that's not going in, then nothing's going in today.
Everyone in ready is forward, and that is the final whistle. It's still 100% perfect for Sven-Goran Eriksson, and Manchester City are proudly atop of the Premier League.
This is a manager that's going to take us everywhere. We're fantastic.
And to be so far ahead of Manchester United at this stage of the season.
We're not bothered about Manchester United, we're just bothered about Manchester City.
City!
We are going up, and I'm over the moon.
For the Barclays Manager of the Month for August, Sven-Goran Eriksson.
It's Manchester City. They're getting the awards. Sven-Goran Eriksson and Micah Richards, suitably recognised.
More than one teenager in the City side who's been attracting plenty of interest. There's Michael Johnson, who has been stunning of late.
I remember Didi Harman, he said that Michael Johnson is the best midfielder he ever played together with. And that says a lot. Bayern Munich, German national team and so on. And he knows everything about football. You don't need to teach him anything. So when he said that, then you understand. It was great.
It's a terrific goal from a very promising young midfield player for Manchester City, Michael Johnson.
Well, Michael, you're the Barclays man of the match today. Ask Diddy to hand it over, please.
Well done, Chino. Cheers, Diddy. Thanks very much.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers.
We'd seen him the previous season under pace with some good away performances, and he was at the heart of those. And he'd carried that form on. It was the way he glided across the turf. I'm not old enough to remember Colin Bell, but all those around us said his whole gait, his running style, the way he plays football is exactly like that.
He was getting compared to City legends, and it was like his second season. But in some ways, it didn't feel controversial because that's how well he was playing.
Michael was the Barclays man. Nedum, can you do the honours, please?
Well done, Johnson.
I was.
It was a pleasure.
There you go.
Cheers, fellas. What up?
I think given the fact that he was somebody who came through the academy essentially and was doing as well as he was doing alongside some of the best, brightest stars that the club had seen for a long time, like, you know, it was special because at times he's playing better than Elano, and Elano was one of the best players I ever played with.
He was phenomenal. He wasn't as involved as my memory suggested he was. He only scored 2 goals that year, which, from memory, I thought he scored a lot more than that, which kind of says that of what I think about him at the time, because I thought he was such one of the pivotal players in that team.
This is a promising run from Johnson.
He was a mature midfielder, very clever, skillful, box to box, could do everything.
He can do it all, this boy. Got a huge future ahead of him.
We knew there was something special there, definitely, and of course, you know, he chipped in with some real vital performances and really vital goals.
He was a phenomenal talent, and I think it was a real shame for the way that season went for him with his injuries.
Some years later, I took him to Leicester, and I don't know, something went not as it should have gone, and he was not the player I knew since before, unfortunately. But when I had him in City, he's a great player, and I thought he will be a very important player, not only for City but also for England.
Must be a goal for Petrov, it is.
Eu e o Petrov, a gente tinha feito 5, 6 jogos cada um, e a gente tinha 5 ou 6 assistências a gente tinha dado. E o Petrov já tinha feito um gol. E eu tava louco para fazer um gol.
Now Elano, is he going to try to crack the free kick? Deserves a goal.
Aí eu peguei a bola, o Herman veio do meu lado, o Didi veio do meu lado e falou assim: "Você vai chutar daqui?" Eu falei: "Vou chutar." Ele falou: "Então chuta."
Let's talk about that Newcastle goal. And I was right behind it, and I was thinking, right, it's quite far out. Is he going to shoot? He's not going to shoot, is he?
I remember being sat next to my dad, and my dad just went, "He'll score this," and I was like, "Nah. I don't know anything about this guy, so he might do, he might not."
Elano here for City. Oh, what a hit!
And then he does that, and you go, okay, he's all right, this kid.
Electrifying from Elano!
And he struck it, and it never went above the crossbar for 30 yards as it went right into the top corner.
Então, assim, o contexto, quando eu chuto e faço o gol, tanto é que na comemoração, você percebe que veio o Nedum Onuoha, né?
I was like, oh my God, because I think I've had the best view of one of the best goals I've ever seen on a football pitch.
Então eu consegui fazer esse primeiro gol aí, que foi uma coisa muito legal.
And now it's Elano! Is there nothing this boy cannot do?
We won last weekend, we won this weekend, and playing good football. We know that we're playing good football.
Oh, what a goal from Stephen Ireland!
It was fun. I'd forgotten that going to football could be fun.
Manchester City retain their 100% home record. It goes on to 9 games.
The early home games of that season were just so exciting and gave us such cause for hope.
Half of the season we played brilliant football. We got a position at Christmas time, I think, which was better than we were.
Eu acho que o que nos levou a um bom ano foi esse ambiente maravilhoso entre a gente. O Mika Richter com a sua alegria, um cara que sempre chegava com música nova. O Steve Ireland com a tua maluquice, com o teu jeito de ser bacana também, um cara... O Dunen, que era o capitão, né, o irlandês, assim, um cara totalmente fechado, mas um cara de um coração gigantesco. E nós criamos uma afinidade muito legal.
For the first time in a long time, I felt, you looked at the team and said, that's a good team. You looked at Elano and said, that's a really good player. You look at Michael Johnson, he's doing really well. Look at Stephen Ireland, he's doing well. You looked at Mike Richards, he's doing well. You know, that season ended up being like the rise of Joe Hart. That was the start of Kasper Schmeichel's career and stuff like this. And that's just naming but a few of them.
2-2 for Daniel Sturridge.
Things looked like they were heading in the right direction. And I'd argue it's been a little while since that was the case.
So Old Trafford just about set for the 149th meeting of Manchester United and Manchester City on this, the most special and poignant of days.
I think the game we played at United, Old Trafford, that was a very special game.
The build-up to the game is all about the supporters and how City fans would behave.
3,000 supporters of Manchester City.
Because of the event, it was the 50th anniversary of the Munich air disaster, and all eyes were on us. What Sven did was brought a real, and it's an overused term, but he brought a real class to that event, and he brought a real calmness, and he represented City with such pride. It was even called out by the opposition manager of that game, and as it proceeded, the fans were immaculate. Fergie was quoted as saying they were impeccable.
The fans of City, they behaved extremely well. The silence before the game.
I think everybody took their eye off the ball, the fact that actually it wasn't going to be off the pitch where City spoilt the day, it was going to be on the pitch where City spoilt the day.
And amidst this very special atmosphere, there is a very important game.
All the talk, TV, whatever, is about how United are it's going to be a walk in the park. City had just turned up, we weren't in great form, and then we score.
Petrov in possession. Running it through for Ireland.
The Vassell goal, I mean, Vassell was his best to miss it. It was like the second or third chance to do it. I think Ireland had just missed before him as well. So they were trying their best not to score.
Vassell at the second attempt. Manchester City lead at Old Trafford. A ground where they've not won for 34 years. And it's Darius Vassell.
And then we score again. You're like, okay, this is unfamiliar.
And touched on and in! Benjani, on his debut, scores in the Manchester derby.
The performance was really good. That first half, the Vassell goal was slightly fortuitous, but the Benjani goal also fortuitous, but was great, especially for the celebration.
And City lead at the home of their greatest rivals by 2-0.
Myself, Steve and Ireland, Darius knew that every time Darius scored to that point, he'd never lost a game. So we went in at half-time and I'm sitting next to Stevie and we're both like just looking at each other, looking at Darius, 2-0 up at Old Trafford. You're like, say nothing, but carry on regardless.
Ronaldo.
The second half was just, we had 10 men in our own penalty area.
Bodies back for Manchester City. And Giggs and Tevez, important intervention.
Done and dusted. Great defensive instincts.
Probably the first time as a City fan and City player where we really got under their skin, and it felt fantastic.
Right at the death, obviously Carrick scored on like 90+3 or whatever, and I knew there were 4 added minutes, so I was like, there's no way there's enough time for a second goal. So City have pretty much done it, they just need to do nothing stupid, and they didn't do anything stupid.
Joe Hart's goal kick should be the final act. Manchester City win at Old Trafford for the first time since 1974 and do the league double over United for the first time in even longer, since 1970.
As much as it sounds over-emotional, the performance and the result was a reward to the supporters and their behaviour, and to the manager, because he brought a real calmness and a real class to the club.
I remember when I signed for City at the stadium, and after that leaving, outside when I should go into my car, it was an older gentleman, a big supporter of Manchester City, and he said to me, don't listen to the press that you have to take them to Europe or whatever it is. Just do 2 things, he said. Beat United twice, and we will be happy. And we did it. Yeah. And I think we maybe deserved it as well. A little bit of luck you have to have, and no, it was good. Beat United, yeah, very good.
To be consistently good over the space of a year is very, very tough. You know, you can have spells where you do exceptionally well, but it tends to be the top 4, top 6 who tend to do it overall for the whole year. And, you know, we basically suffered because of the fact that we hadn't arrived. The start of the season felt like we had, but the reality is we hadn't.
we can't look past the injuries that City had as well. And I remember the back four at one point, they had 3 full-backs in Elano as the back four, and it's just like, it was held together by sticky tape.
Eu pedi pro Eriksson, e a gente estava com muitos problemas. E eu, no treino, eu falei pro Sven, joguei, pode me colocar lá que eu te ajudo. Ele falou, tá bom.
There's a reason why certain teams finish where they do. And the Premier League, it's a long old season of very, very tough games. And even though what you did well at one point doesn't guarantee the next point will go well for you.
What a wonderful Fulham comeback! And their European dream taking a battering.
It was a weird time because obviously the season hadn't ended that well and the run of form had been dreadful. But a lot of the fans were very much behind him and were look, this guy gave us entertaining football in the first half of the season. He deserves the chance to turn this around, get some new players in over the summer and go again.
The wrangles of ownership are still going on here, but Manchester City today taking that pressure off them because protests from their travelling fans about the impending departure of the very popular Sven-Goran Eriksson, sacked it seems by Thaksin Shinawatra, City's owner, despite a guaranteed top 10 finish and City's best Premier League points total from a 38-game season.
We had as much respect for Sven as the players did, and I think he was a really good guy who tried to change the ethic of how City play and the way we play, and I think nobody felt that there was an actual reason to get rid of him other than the chairman.
It was the first time in a while that I can remember the fans really being against the club in that, the club's decision in that sense. I think a lot of fans were quite vocal in going against that decision because just purely for that first 6 months of Sven had been some of the best football they'd seen since Keegan's promotion year.
The fans are desperate for an answer. Can you give them any sort of assurance that you will be in charge next season?
Well, obviously I can't. I think after Sunday's time to talk about the future. The future for now is Middlesbrough away.
It's his career at Manchester City behind him. The fans are certainly backing him. Around 3,000 marched on the City of Manchester Stadium yesterday. Around 20,000 have signed a petition. The message is very, very clear.
In terms of things which I was happy I was not involved in, that game up in Middlesbrough.
The funniest thing with it is obviously City were chasing the European spot with the Fair Play League. We'd said before the game, it really doesn't matter what the result is, as long as there were no red cards, there's no crowd trouble. And immediately, Richard Dunn's sent off inside 15 minutes and there's protests in the stands because the owner's getting rid of the manager. So we're actively doing our best to not get into Europe at this point.
So we had 10 men. They were scoring with every shot they had.
And you can say there are tons of reasons for it, whether it's to do with, say, injuries or, say, people having the thing over the head where they know that this is the last game for the manager, it's the last game of the season.
Shy again causing problems. Oh, that is incredible! That is a fabulous finish from Stuart Downing.
Whilst I wasn't saying they went on strike, I just think subconsciously thought, it's the end of the season, we're a man down, let's see this out. And meanwhile, Middlesbrough just literally scored with every shot.
It could be and should be 4-0 to Middlesbrough. Could be more here. It is. That is another tremendous goal.
Some of Middlesbrough's goals, they'd never score goals like that again. Some of them were outstanding, as was ours, by the way, from Elano.
There's Elano. Oh, look at that. A response from Manchester City. Too little, too late. But what another fabulous goal.
We as fans need to wear that match as a badge of honour. The reason is City are the only Premier League team that have scored 8 in one game and conceded 8 in another game.
It ends at the Etihad. Manchester City 8, Watford 0.
It's almost for a hat-trick. It's 8 for Middlesbrough. Embarrassment for City.
It's a terrible result but it's one that we should look back on and go, look, everything's turned out all right in the end. Let's look back and laugh at it.
For it to finish this way is just, he deserves an awful lot better. He's done a good job at Manchester City this season.
Richard done after being sent off when we lost the game 8-1. Dunny was obviously apologetic, but they knew that Sven had lost his job. And Dunny thanked Sven for everything he'd done for the club on behalf of all the players. Dunny's somebody who wouldn't necessarily be standing up doing big speeches and stuff like this. You know, the players almost universally love the manager. And I think that is a very, very rare occurrence within football. So I think that kind of sums up what he was like as a person.
I think we all felt, all in the coaching staff, that we did a rather good job. Not that bad to be sacked, we thought. We bought players, yes, taxed and invested some money, but not huge money, not to compete with the best. But we did that at least half of the season, and well, I didn't think it was fair, but when is football fair?
What a chance this is for Manchester City. It's a first-minute goal.
We'd scored goals, he'd signed some really good players. The form was dipping, yeah, but actually in relative terms, we're in the top half of the Premier League. That's, you know, in our history at that point, that wasn't a normal thing. We had no right, really, to remain in the top 6 all throughout that season.
Short time, I was there only 1 year, but that was great, and the fans, they were fantastic.
The fan club, full cry.
Sven was the most welcoming manager that I ever had, and I think most people ever worked with. That immediately makes you want to do your job better.
Oh, it's Onuoha!
It's a very fond season for me, purely because of the change that it represented at City at the time. That's why he holds a special place for me as a City fan.
And of course, Manchester City today, it's something different. It's totally different from when I was there, and City is one of the biggest clubs in the world today.
He was good for City at the time, he was the right person for City at the time, and I think he's got his place in City folklore, because had we chosen the wrong manager, it might have been that we might not be in the Premier League, and then do we get taken over, and the rest is history.
Oh no! Oh! Beautifully placed by the Manchester City man!
É um cara que só tenho a agradecer, feliz, né, por ter trabalhado com ele, ter sido atleta dele. Eu espero poder reencontrá-lo novamente, que faz muito tempo que isso não acontece.
Elano's there again, sure-footed.